Hello, I'm Andy Chatha, President of ARC Advisory Group. I'm delighted to have Raj Batra with us today. He is President, Siemens Industry Automation USA. Welcome, Raj.
Thank you, Andy.
Raj, we have been talking about manufacturing here all morning and yesterday, and I see a lot of optimism among the attendees here.
Right.
Maybe you could actually talk a little bit about when you are talking to customers, what are you seeing out there?
Yeah, I mean, let me generally start with the economy first. I think it's always a good place to start. So, first off, consumer spending is at the highest point that we've seen in the last 3 years. The other part that's certainly good for GDP, which is a broad macroeconomic gauge of manufacturing health. But even more closer to home, we see the PMI index, which is now on its 8th consecutive quarter of expansion. And that's generally good for manufacturing industries. Utilization rates are rising, and we're hearing from a lot of analysts and even our customers, and what we see in the first quarter of our business is that as these utilization rates rise, companies are more prone to spending on CapEx and investing more in their operations. And then I would say also that some fundamental changes are occurring in assumptions about manufacturing in the past. So I would just say first, this idea that build it there, sell it here, this is really changing. And so we see that companies that want to manufacture a product and also innovate it, they need to do this in close proximity to each other. The other part is just the wage rates, right? So the wage gap is narrowing. And it's not always the case that lower wage rates equate to lower production costs. And then I would say the third thing is just the energy prices. So the U.S. is very, very competitive when it comes to energy costs. A third of the price of energy costs in Europe, a quarter of the price of energy costs in Asia, and that's really boding very, very well for U.S. manufacturers.
There's a lot of hype out there about technology and especially, Internet of Things and Industry 4.0 and so forth. And we have been talking about it, here for the last couple of days. Could you talk about that? What are you hearing? You think our industry is, ready to embrace some components of this and so forth?
Well, look, we are seeing a very pervasive application of industrial Ethernet technologies. So, you see a lot of the big companies now behind industrial Ethernet or Profinet. Just in the Siemens space, as companies are dealing with these aging legacy assets, and I think, we hear about these aging legacy assets that are at the end of their useful life, roughly 65 plus billion. Companies are now at the crossroads of making different levels of technology decisions about networking, about interoperability, about predictive behavior of network topologies. And so we've seen, industrial Ethernet nodes really quadruple since 2008. So we're seeing this as really very, very pervasive. Profinet is taking hold. Companies want a flat, open, Ethernet-based topology for peer-to-peer, for peer-to-periphery. And so again, this is just, we expect this to continue, at a very, very aggressive growth rate in the next decade.
Some of the other technologies we are discussing here, for example, cloud computing or analytics and big data, virtualization, maybe, would you like to comment on that?
Yeah, I would just say that Siemens is very heavily invested in this industrial IT and big data space. The last 5 years, we've made $5 billion of acquisitions, 8 companies, just in the last couple of years itself. So, this big industrial space, this big industrial data is, really for us, very, very critical, especially as we talk about virtualization. And now we talk about data in the petabyte range. And so for us, dealing with product lifecycle management, virtualization, manufacturing execution systems, and then down to the automation systems, these are really the 3 technologies that are going to govern how production is done in the future.
Siemens, certainly you're very strong on the automation side, and you're also, very strong on the software side. As you mentioned, you made a bunch of acquisitions in that space. How are you? Are you finding, that software and hardware is really helping customers in that space?
Well, I mean, this is again where customers are rethinking how they handle automation solutions, how they handle product lifecycle management solutions. And so, I guess the advantage that we would have today is that we are, the only automation company that's innovating on the design side from a hardware and software perspective, but also on the manufacturing automation side from a hardware and software perspective. And why that's so critical is because companies are really tying, exactly as you say, Andy, their design to their production. And so some call it virtual to real, but really, it's just a known quantity that if you want to control your manufacturing costs, 80% of those manufacturing costs are predetermined in the product design phase. And so, what Siemens is doing between product lifecycle management, manufacturing execution systems, down to the automation controllers, we're really innovating in between those meet points. And this is where our extensive R&D efforts are underway. Also, just, let's take the automation system in itself. We talk about the next generation of automation controller that we've released called the TIA Portal. It's a $1 billion innovation where we've spent the last 5 years with R&D doing usability testing on 5 continents. And it's one united framework for all aspects of automation control. Human-machine interface, networking capability, the automation controller itself, motion. So these were, in the past, different disconnected systems, all still interoperable. But today, this is all under one engineering framework. And what we're after there is really the reduction in engineering hours. I mean, hardware cost is inevitably going down. So we want to, reduce the overall cost of a system, reduce the overall engineering cost of designing an automation system. And so this is where these advanced tools are really playing a big role in U.S. manufacturing competitiveness.
Are you seeing the demand for these technologies and your services across board, or all industries, or are you seeing that some industries are moving a little faster than others? Would you like to comment on that?
I mean, of course, they're early adopters. The automotive industries and aerospace industries are always very early adopters in a lot of technology, just by virtue of the number of variants they have. The mass customization they have in their products. Certainly, the auto industry, being the bellwether for that. But I would say today, these companies buy these technologies anyway. They buy product lifecycle management solutions. They have, in some cases, homegrown MES solutions. They're buying automation solutions. The question is, are they prepared to integrate the environments? And this is where I believe, again, Siemens is playing a very important role in this integrated landscape to reduce the time to market, get products out, be able to handle more variations of products in terms of the production process.
Raj, that's a great insight. We have been listening to Raj Batra, President, Siemens Industry Automation USA. Thank you for listening.